Welcome back to Voices of Vitality, where we highlight the people, ideas, and resources helping adults live stronger, fuller, and more connected lives at every age. Today's conversation is one that I'm excited about because we're talking about something that often gets overlooked in healthy aging: the importance of continuing to learn, grow, and stay curious in what I like to call the fourth quarter of life. So many people think that aging means slowing down, shrinking your world, or settling into a routine. But today's guest is helping people do the exact opposite. We're going to talk today about why curiosity matters, how lifelong learning impacts our mental and emotional health, the importance of community and purpose as we age, and why growth should never have an expiration date. Joining us today is Ian MacNeil, director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Aquinas College here in Grand Rapids. So Ian, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Jenna. Happy to be with you.
Great. So for people who may not be familiar, what exactly is OLLI?
It's hard to describe because lifelong learning has so many different forms, but what we say is OLLI at Aquinas is a vibrant, member-driven lifelong learning community of intellectually curious adults that promote social connection, purpose, and continuous growth through accessible and engaging experiences. So it's not just a classroom anymore, it's a social atmosphere where everyone can come together and learn things as one.
I love that. And you guys really do have such a vibrant group of individuals. I remember it's probably been like 2 years now since I was there and gave a workshop, and the engagement of the individuals that participate in these workshops just makes the workshops themselves so much fun.
We will tell our presenters, and presenters tell us too, this is the most engaged audience they will ever interact with, because they bring years of experience to the classroom. They want to be here, unlike some undergraduate students who might not want to be taking that required class. But all this is voluntary. So people sign up for what they want to take, they're curious about, and there's no forcing, there's no requirements for anything. It's all fun and engaging, and they make it as great as it is.
Absolutely. And I will say too, when I was there, I felt as though the people that attended my workshop came fully prepared because they taught me things. By the end of my workshop, I don't know if they were just like in my head before I even came to present, but at the end of it, the questions they were asking me were so well thought out, and like they had done their homework, to like really make sure they knew what they were getting into.
Well, that's one of our favorite parts is we don't have tests, there's no grades, there is no homework, but oftentimes members come to class well prepared with questions already in store. I'm a film guy, so I teach a lot of movie classes here at OLLI, and I remember one of my first sessions I had maybe 10 years ago now. I had a gentleman in the class who remembered seeing The Wizard of Oz in a theater in 1939 when it first came out. And we were talking about musicals, and so how great of an experience to bring that perspective to our conversation. I was born in 1992, well after that movie came out. So it was great to have that personal experience guide that conversation, because he remembered vividly details of that experience, which made the entire class much better because of that.
That is so cool. I'm really sure that it did. So what drew you personally to this work and working in the lifelong learning space?
Yeah, I started my senior year of college. I'm an Aquinas grad myself, so I started with the program as a senior here at the college, and I was looking for opportunities to teach. I knew I didn't really want to teach young people. It wasn't really a generation or group that I connected with. So I was looking for opportunities where I didn't need a teaching certificate, and I wanted to find an opportunity to do so locally. And I had a professor that walked me over to our location about 13 years ago now and said, how about you try presenting at OLLI? And I had a wonderful experience. The team at the time gave me almost carte blanche to teach a class that I clearly was not qualified to do, but still had a lot of fun doing. And that started a now 13-year relationship with the program. So I learned, after I left school, I spent some time in instruction to design in the private sector. And I was teaching people about the maintenance, operation, and programming of large industrial woodworking equipment, which is great and fun, but I had a limit to what I was interested in myself. So the thing I loved about OLLI was I could come up with a concept for a class and just present it with the approval of the team, and that made it so much more fun because a lot of our classes are generated from our presenters or generated from our members themselves. So they're telling us what they want, and then we make it happen. So I started doing that, and that turned into over a decade of, I think I've taught maybe 40 classes now at OLLI in my time, which has made it so fun to engage with multiple different members over those years, hundreds of members, and to see what they like and tweak things and adjust things. And then I spent a couple years as the director of lifelong learning at Hope College, which was a great transition for me. And I loved what I learned at Hope, and I loved that community. But then the opportunity opened up to return back to OLLI here, and I took that. So it's been just over 2 years since I've been back with the program, and we've had a blast the last couple of years transforming our program, moving us to a beautiful new learning space for our members, and finding new ways to engage with our community.
Oh, that is so great. What is it about working with older adults that you love so much?
I think I lost my grandparents when I was young, and I've always kind of gravitated to an older demographic. I don't know, I wouldn't say that I'm particularly mature in any way, but I find that I find better conversation with older people. And so that's kind of where it started for me was, well, I could have a conversation that went from one topic to the next, and it wasn't just on my phone, it was in person, it was engaging, it was live, and it was fun and funny. And I think that's what continued for me. It's almost like every time I come to work, I'm hanging out with the grandparents that I haven't had a relationship with in my adult life. So it kind of creates a new connection for me as a young adult, but also as a professional, to find people that have such vast knowledge that they can share with me almost in those ways that my grandparents gave me lessons when I was young. I can now continue to get those lessons as I age.
I love that. And I completely agree, because at Vitality at Home, we work with an older demographic as well. And it's so great because you know that, anything that you're going through in your life, they have that insight into. So not to say that the therapy session is about us as therapists, but to be able to they like to learn about you. They like to learn about your family and what's going on in your life, and to be able to lean on them and just say, hey, what do you think? What do you think about this situation? And they have so much wisdom to share. It's
wisdom and opinions too, which is great to know that people still want to be engaged. They still want to be active in conversation today. That I think maybe in a lot of ways they've been discounted in the fact that they don't have enough to contribute to a modern conversation. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that, because I find myself learning more from them, and they bring so much more to us every time that it makes it so much more engaging for me just to be in a conversation with someone. And then they live around here, so we share a community together. So some of them live nearby me, so they'll walk by if I'm outside, they'll wave and hello, or I see you need to cut your grass again. It's getting a little long. So it's great that we can expand it beyond the classroom, that it becomes a way for them to connect with us socially outside of the classroom too.
I love that. I love that. So what surprised you most when you stepped into this role at OLLI?
That a lot of our members are busier than I am. I thought I had a busy schedule, working a full-time job and several volunteer commitments. And then when it comes to us scheduling our classes, I think, oh, well, no one's going to be doing anything at 9:30 in the morning. No one's going to be doing anything in the early afternoon. But our members are so active, whether that's childcare responsibilities, whether that's involved in the community themselves in other ways, chairing boards, chairing councils, actively volunteering in the community with arts organizations or elsewhere. Some of them are still working, which I think is the best part. We've kind of had this reputation over the years of OLLI is for a very, very old demographic. Our program is designed technically for those 15 over, but when I say designed, that just means that they're offered during the day when that's more available for people. So I was under the impression that most of our members would be free at that time, but I'm learning that they're all busy. They're running from one thing to the next. They're taking advantage of our virtual classroom because they've got several meetings after class that they don't want to be late for, or they're coming from a symphony event or something like that, which is really refreshing for me to know that you can continue to do those things for fun, that you can fill your schedule with things that you want to do when you're retired, but also that they're still staying engaged and giving back to the community in other ways. We see that value come to our classroom too.
Absolutely. And it's inspiring too, right? It's inspiring that every day you're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like getting up and going to work today. You remind yourself, I'm doing this so I can live like them.
Right.
When I retire.
Well, and there's this misconception that all older people do is golf, or they knit, they do all that stuff. Yeah, a lot of our members do that and they're really good at it. But a lot of them are also I have a member that's a good close friend of mine that is a former U.S. attorney, and he lived a very difficult, challenging life at this high level of the legal system, and now just enjoys coming to listen to other people talk about it. What's their perspective of it now that he's 20 years out of that profession? So I love getting that connection, and I love seeing them re-engage with their careers before, or some people that are just completely hands-off. I don't have anything to do with that job I had before, and now I can pursue something totally different which gives them a whole new lease on what the time they have to spend and how they choose to spend it.
Absolutely. So when people first hear lifelong learning, they often think of traditional classrooms. And we touched on this a little bit earlier, but OLLI is definitely much more or much different from the traditional classroom setting. So how would you describe it? So if someone comes to one of your programs, what can they expect? What's the setting like?
Yeah, I'm sitting in our brand new classroom that we remodeled just this past year, which allows us to expand. We were kind of in a small community before, which had a limited space for people to attend in person. But now our community is not just in person, it's also online. So we have a lot of members that are gone for long terms as they go down to warmer climates, which I'm jealous of throughout the winter. So they can still stay engaged with us in a virtual space, which isn't ideal for everybody. Not everyone likes to connect that way. So we still have a lot of in-person events here in more of a traditional classroom space, but we try to get out of the classroom as much as we possibly can. Try to get more experiential in the learning experiences that we share and more interactive. So you might have heard of the term continuing education before, which is something that Aquinas also excels in, but our members are not seeking degrees. They're not looking for the next job prospect. They're not looking for the next skill that they're going to get a certification in. They're looking to just do this for fun. So we said the classroom then should be fun. So we get outside instead of just learning about things that we might find, like, for example, instead of doing a class in the classroom about different bird species, we go outside and look for birds. Mm-hmm. Instead of having a class about art where we're drawing landscapes, we take the easels and the artwork outside and do those pictures outside. So this is a wonderful space for us to gather, and it provides a great home base for us. But we're going to be touring museums. We're going to be traveling. We're taking a group to Ireland next year. We've talked about hiking and how beneficial that is to hike. And we have a hiking group that meets throughout the year. But we're going to go and hike the west coast of Ireland as a new fun trip for us.
That is so cool.
It's just a way for us to engage and interact in different ways. We had a class just this last fall as the Pope transitioned, as we had the death of one Pope and transitioned to another. We turned our classroom into the Sistine Chapel. We reorganized the seats. We put the beautiful artwork from the ceiling on our big projector screen and everyone wore reds. They dressed up as cardinals and went through the process of electing a new Pope, which was a blast. So we try to transform it that way. There's still great times for lectures, as some people love to hear someone speak so intelligently on a subject, but we use multimedia, we use video, we use audio, we use dancing. We can move these tables out and do physical activity, all the things that your strength is. We can try to incorporate that into our space too. So it's not just Tai Chi, but it's Tai Chi outside. Or there's a new element to make it one step more engaging every time.
Yeah. I love that. And it also, at least when I was presenting there, and it was in the older classroom, but it had more of a laid back feel than this stuffy, upright kind of feel. And you guys have such a beautiful setting to be going outside and doing these sorts of things outside.
The Aquinas campus is a beautiful landscape for us to work with. And I've been here, I was a student here for 4 years, and I've stayed connected with the campus since I graduated. But in that roughly 15-year period, I'm still finding new places on campus that we can explore and new ponds or that we can go and test biological experiments in, or new trees and things that we can find and see, or new plants that we can plant, as we're adding an OLLI gardeners group that's helping plant some of the beautiful flowers around campus. So we're trying to give back to the campus in that way too. But there's no better way than being in this beautiful space here, but when we have the opportunity to get outside and give back or to utilize the space in a new way.
That is so great. So why do you feel like learning is so important in the second half or in our fourth quarter of life?
I don't think learning ever goes away, or at least the curiosity to learn. It's how we choose to engage with it. So I don't think the individual ever loses that interest to learn. If they do, I want them to come and talk to us so we can help them get that curiosity back. But I think what's so important is the connection side of it. And learning is not just an individual pursuit, it's a collective pursuit. And I like to say it's a radical act too, to admit you don't know something and want to try to learn to correct that, or to add more information to your own lexicon of knowledge, is really impressive to me, that you take that radical choice to say, I want to learn more. I want to do something.
I would agree, because I think in your fourth quarter of life, it's so much easier to be like, that's okay. I don't have that much time left. I don't need to learn that anyway.
Right.
You know, you see that some individuals with technology, right? We see in some of our clients that they're like, I don't need that internet-based exercise program. I'm not going to learn how to use the internet, or I'm not going to learn how to use my phone. And I just think, imagine if you did, how empowering that would be for you to then be able to For example, we have a client that just got their first cell phone.
Okay.
And she started texting her granddaughter. She did not tell her granddaughter that she got a cell phone. She texted her granddaughter, and she said that she has never been so proud of herself as she was the day she texted her granddaughter.
Yeah. There are no limits when you're learning in this fourth stage of life, because
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about the perceptions of others. You're not sitting in the classroom where the popular kid's down the row or the nerd kid is over here. You can geek out on anything you want to at OLLI, especially because
Mhm.
we have all different kinds of offerings that we can hit those different areas. I like to call it college with only electives. It's all the fun stuff that you want to take that you maybe never did before. And you don't have to worry about judgment from the classroom because everyone else is on the same page as you. They're all excited to learn about this subject. They're all there because they want to be. And that creates such a more engaging learning space that it's totally different than what college or what school used to be for some people.
I would agree. And I feel as though in that fourth quarter of life, there's so much less outside noise as well. So, for me at 42, when I'm trying to learn something new, I'm not only thinking about like where my kids have to go this evening or what I have to do for work or what's going on this weekend, or I got to get a sitter for this, or I got to do that, whereas, when you're in your fourth quarter, you have had all that life experience to come to the conclusion that those things, while those things matter, it's not worth spending all of that mental space on when you can spend your mental space on learning things that are enjoyable for you.
Right. All the things that you want to learn about now. You are in control of that learning journey now, and we want to be the ones to help you get there. So find the things that you want to pursue, and there's never too late to pursue something brand new. We just had a member that presented for us. She spent many years as a knitter and a sewer, and she unfortunately lost a lot of her work in a house tragedy. And so she's pursued now learning a whole new style of Japanese tamari making, which is these thread balls that are something she taught herself. She learned all about this and dove into that. And now she has hundreds of these beautiful balls that she's created, and then learned the history behind that and why it's so significant. And it's created that one, like a hobby thing, into a fully immersive experience, which I'm so proud that she's been able to do that and then give that back to our program and teach others to do the same.
That's incredible. So, what do you feel like happens to people when they stop being curious?
Well, you shut off your entire, as soon as your brain goes, your body goes. Now, I'm not a scientist, and you have much more experience in this field than I do, but I can see people when they come into the classroom, they're bringing the baggage of everything else with them. But when they leave the classroom, they're standing upright. Their posture's changed. The way they sit in a chair is different because there's an engagement side that you might not get at home. Or that social connection where you have someone else that asks a similar question as you, that you're not comfortable to say, but you hear someone else do it, and now you've created a space that's open for it. So I think clearly, as soon as we shut off or allow ourselves to turn off our curiosity, we stop wanting the next day. We stop wanting to find something special, and that gives us energy for the next day. And I find every time in class, I learn something new, and I find just as much joy in it as anyone else. So I want to make sure that we have those opportunities for people to do on their own and start here at OLLI.
Do you feel that society unintentionally tells our older adults that growth is supposed to stop once they retire?
I think society intentionally tells them it's time to stop. I think there's so many. I mean, we have members that come to us and say, this is the first time someone's held a door for me in a long time. They hold the doors for all the young ladies and the pretty ones, but they don't hold the door for an older woman anymore. And here, we treat you with the same respect you deserve everywhere else, but that might be the only place you're getting it. So I think there is a general conception society intentionally excludes older demographics, which is so weird to me because if you look at our lawmakers, they're all geriatrics in some way, which is really refreshing that there are people that are that active that late in life. But I think one place that we can correct that is here at OLLI and make sure that anytime you interact with someone here, you're getting a smile, you're getting called by your name. And sometimes those things just don't exist elsewhere. So we want to be the one place that does that differently, because I think we are missing out and we're mistreating our senior populations.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. What have you seen from new members that come or people that come for the very first time when they start to re-engage with learning and with community?
I think a lot of people are shocked that we cover so much in 90 minutes. So we try to limit ourselves so that it's not taking your whole day up, but an opportunity to engage with us at an appropriate time. But I think they're kind of surprised that, one, there's a lot of people that want the same thing. So when we tell people we have over 800 members in our program, they're shocked that there's that many people that are interested in this type of opportunity. And then we have them sit in class, and there's 50 other people in the room with them that have the same interest. I think they're kind of surprised that the college itself is dedicated to that, which, most colleges now are, if they're struggling to get younger students, they're shifting to like a business demographic or trying to make things more modern. Only technology is what we're going to focus on now. Aquinas has never been that way. Aquinas is definitely about community learning and finding a connection point for everybody. Our program started back in 1975, actually, so we've been over 50 years in the community now, because our leaders back then, President Norb and Sister Aquinas Weber, knew that there was a missed opportunity by not engaging with an older demographic in the community. So Aquinas has always made those options available. And I think people are surprised to learn that there is still a space in higher education for people that are past their prime learning years, or whatever society tells them their prime learning years are. So they walk in, they see this beautiful space that we have created, and then they see presenters that want to engage with them where they are. We're not just packaging professors that typically teach to undergrad students and then, copying and pasting that to our demographic. These people are trained and they are excited to present to an older demographic because of what they bring to the classroom. So it's customized, it's personal, and it feels very fresh and vibrant. So I think they might be expecting something more stuffy, or the traditional classroom you come in. I mean, we don't have nuns hitting people with rulers or anything like that. The sisters that we have are very engaged and love exploring with us. But we're going to get the top of the field. If there's a class on Alzheimer's research, we're going downtown to the MacNiel Institute to get the top researchers to talk about that. And we want people to explore that in a way that you wouldn't get just watching something on YouTube or listening to a lecture from some faraway place. You can come and do that right in your own backyard.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're bringing in local community people too, helping them see like this is what's possible. This is what's available in our community.
Right. Well, that's how we got connected. Was a member started working with you and said, I got this great experience with Vitality at Home, and I want to share that with other people. So why not build that bridge and connect there? And our job is to build those bridges so we can bring those local communities, give them a new platform that maybe they haven't had before, and then allow us to expand too, to make sure that more people are getting the opportunity to do that, because you never know what's right around the corner. I'll give you a brief example if I can. We have a class upcoming from a great historian here in Grand Rapids. Her name is Pam Vanderploeg, and she's an architectural expert. And we're doing she's writing a book about Alexander McCall, who was an architect here in Grand Rapids, and he built over 350 homes and venues all throughout West Michigan. Well, Pam thought it would be really cool if we invited all the people who are currently living in McCall homes to come and see his expertise in one format.
So cool.
Well, it's been great for us because we're getting exposure to a lot of new people, a lot of younger people that didn't realize that our program existed or was for them in their middle-aged life. And now we have 125 people signed up for this class, half of which are living in McCall homes that can now learn about the history of their own place where they reside. So sometimes it's not just your backyard, it could be your actual residence that you're learning about here at OLLI.
That is so cool. I love that. So now at Vitality at Home, our community is so used to us talking about physical health and how important physical health is as we get older. But how important do you feel that intellectual stimulation is for overall well-being with aging?
Yeah, I don't feel it. I know it. The data is there that supports that mental health supports physical health. It supports so many other body functions. I find that it's really best for us to explore those topics honestly. Yes, we're going to have classes that are about your aging body. That's important for people to know, but it's also important to know how you fit into a larger demographic of people. So it's not just your eyesight that's changing. Well, your eyesight's connected to other things. We just had a class yesterday with some hearing audiologist experts from Grand Valley and talking about how balance issues are impacted by your hearing, which impacts your overall mental health. You can be more possible to have mental decline if you're not getting that engagement. So for us, it's not always just learning something that keeps you active, keeping that brain active, but doing it with others is what the change is. Being able to sit next to someone and have a conversation, there's ancillary benefits to that. So I think it starts with your brain. Keeping your brain active keeps the rest of your body active. And clearly you are the definition of that. And we appreciate the work that you do in the community for that purpose too.
Yeah, I think that's great. Do you think that learning helps people stay younger in spirit?
It's funny because I'm terrible at judging age anymore. I don't even guess. So when
Yeah.
people walk in, there are 60-year-olds that look younger than me in my 30s. So I never quite understand who is older and who is not. But we have members ages 47 to 97 at OLLI. And I find that everyone is kind of at the same playing field. As long as you're interested and present and want to be engaged, your age it doesn't matter to us anymore. So people want to feel young, they want to act young, but there's no pressure for that in our classroom because your age is your wisdom and is what kind of makes you the top of the cream of the crop here at OLLI. Is the older you are, the more engaged and the more experience you have to share with us. So there's no pressure there. But I think people they don't age at OLLI. It's kind of weird. I see them coming in 1 year and they look great, and the next year they look even better. And I'm not going to take credit for that. I think it's partially us, but but to see even your clients that go, they spend 4 weeks with you, and I see a huge dramatic change as they're recovering from a surgery or something. They are back on their feet in such a short time. So clearly, this classroom, the work that you do helps make someone feel younger. But here, that feeling is just universal.
Yeah. Yeah. So we see a lot of people when they're first coming to us, they are very fearful of becoming disconnected and irrelevant or even isolated as they get older. Do you see that when you have new members come into your community, do you see that in them?
Absolutely. I think majority of people that I've talked to recently of new members are moving to the Grand Rapids area because they have children that have relocated here, or they want to be closer to grandkids, or they're just leaving the life they had before and they want to start fresh, which we accept all of those answers. But I think there's also a misidentification that if I move to be closer with family, I will be with them all the time. Well, that's not the case. Your kids would love to have you around, and I think that's great. I love having my parents close by, but there are certain things that I want to do to explore on my own. So I want them to have the opportunity to explore on their own too. So I think when we get that thought of people saying, "Oh, I don't know if I'm good for this. I'm too old for that," or I'm new to a community like this. Well, this is a place to start. Come find that thing that you want to explore more, because this is the place that's going to allow you to do it, but do it in your own time, at your own pace, and at your own comfort level. And you don't need to rely on other people to help you do it. You can pursue it on your own here.
And it seems like such a good catalyst for that, right? Someone's new to community and they don't know a whole lot of people, and they can come in what is seemingly, kind of a benign setting of learning, right? Like you can go in and you can talk to people. You don't have to talk to people, but you can talk to people and you can meet people through that experience. And then, whatever you learn on that topic, if you happen to share the interest with other people, that sparks a relationship, which sparks even more to do beyond the classroom, right? So for example, if you had one of the gardening groups, right? So you have the master gardener come do a workshop for everybody, and then you meet someone and you're like, "Oh, you garden, I garden, let's go do the gardening around Aquinas," and then next thing you know, you've moved to Grand Rapids and now you have a busier social life than the children you came to be closer to, and they're asking you to babysit and you're busy.
You're busy. Yeah, you're busy. That's the thing I love about this community too, is we talk about a loss of community as you age. As soon as you retire, you don't have the work community that you spend the majority of your time with. So as soon as you're separated from that community, then maybe you relocate, you don't have your faith community anymore. Or maybe you don't have the neighborhood that you were so close with. And you have to reform those communities. And that's not an easy thing to do in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or older. So I think what we can do here is, even with the gardening example that you used, a lot of people love gardening, but they might be transitioning to a home that doesn't have a space or a plot for them to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So we really focus on alternative gardening. We have several members that live high up in high rises. So we've talked a lot about container and pot growing, so that it's easier. You don't have your full gardens anymore to spray across your front yard, but here's an opportunity to kind of change that hobby or that passion you have for gardening into a way that fits your current environment. And you can find other people that are going through that same thing in that same transition. We have a lot of people that are relocating here. They don't know what north, south, east streets are. So the first thing we try to do is get them acquainted with where Aquinas is in the map of Grand Rapids. And we say, okay, find us here, find us here. We have one member that's living in Indianapolis currently and is relocating to Grand Rapids next year. So she's been asking a lot of questions. Well, what neighborhood is the best? Where should I be moving to? And so our first thing is to connect her with someone who lives in various neighborhoods and say, what do you like about this space? And it's a much more friendly environment than trying to find a realtor or trying to find someone that you pay to give you that advice. Here it's shared openly.
I love that. So we at Vitality at Home see a lot of clients that come to us with a lot of ageism type views, right? So they come to us thinking that they're too old, or they're not strong enough, or that they've just been like out of the game too long. So what would you say to an individual that came to you and had those views? For example, I'm too old, I'm not smart enough, or I've been out of school for too long.
Yeah, you're not out of the game. The game rules have just changed on you, so you got to learn the new rules. It's not you've done it once, you can do it again. We often get the comment that people say is, "Well, I didn't graduate college," or I never went to college. Well, we're not trying to give you a college level education. We want to give you an opportunity to learn something in a fun and engaging way. So I can promise anyone who's thinking about OLLI, our classes are not going to be over your head in a way that makes it unfun or makes it something that you don't want to come to. Sure, we love to get deep into things and we have science conversations and we talk about art pieces from 500 years ago, but it's not in a way that's inaccessible, which I think is a concern for many people. But there's no such thing as too old at OLLI, because everyone here brings that experience with them, and you become the person that people are calling on. Your comment is something that might spark something for someone else or change the way a presenter looks at something. And I think that's the real benefit of it, is there's no too anything at OLLI. There's no too old. There's no I'm not strong enough, or things like that. We cater all of our stuff. So when we're doing a physical fitness type of class, we have it so that it's adaptable to even people in wheelchairs or walkers can adapt to a lot of the exercises that we do. And that's based on a lot of the experience that we've learned from you. So I think when we're talking about communities designed for people of a certain age, know that they've transitioned a lot in the last 20 years. So a lot of people come to us thinking, well, my mother's experience at this nursing home was this way, or she was kind of put in this, my dad was put in this box and wasn't allowed to do that. Well, thanks to people like you, thanks to programs like ours, that fourth quarter of life living has changed dramatically and is now even more engaging than even your 40s were. I find people finding more purpose in retirement than they ever found in a career.
I know. I am like seriously at 42 waiting, like counting down the days for retirement so I can learn how to play Mahjong. Like every single one of my patients plays this game and I have no idea what it is. And I'm just really feeling like I need to play it. I need to retire so that I can play it.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. I am fortunate that I get to do this for a living, so I get to spend my days here. But I had one member join us recently. She said, I just turned 53 days ago and I signed up for OLLI. I said, well, you could have signed up years ago. What took you so long? And just the look in her face, she was so excited that this opportunity was available to anyone, because we have members in their 40s that are participating with us now. It's not necessarily that the programming is designed for older people. It's just designed at a time that's more convenient when you don't have a full-time job. So I think that's maybe the barrier.
Do you guys have a Mahjong instructor coming to teach a class of some sort anytime in the near future?
I will let you in on a secret. We are in discussions right now to have a Mahjong class.
I need in. Like, I just need to be the first to know, because I need to clear my calendar. I need to be there.
And see, I love this because that was an idea that was brought to us by members that are doing it in their own, out on their own communities. They have a group of people that get together and play. And I said, well, could you come and do that with a larger group of people and let people know? And sure enough, they're excited to share that, because it's a whole huge cultural phenomenon too, to bring all of that into it, just more than just playing.
It's the new pickleball. I'm convinced. I am convinced that Mahjong is a new pickleball.
with less medical complications. Yes, very much so.
Exactly. So you guys offer a wide variety of classes across a wide variety of topics. What are some of the most popular or surprising topics that you guys have?
Well, history is a very popular topic across the board. People love to be engaged with things that they remember personally, which I think is one of the coolest parts of our program. One of my favorite things that we do is we have a program called Generation Swap that brings undergraduate students and puts them in the same classroom with our OLLI members. So there might be a 60-year age difference between people sitting next to each other in class to learn. And we had a wonderful program where we talked about love in relationships. How did love change from when someone was maybe dating in the 1960s? Or what's it like to date and then have your spouse be called to go to war? What's the difference between that versus modern dating, where it's all on your phone, or it's done through text message, or it's your communication is not traditionally what some would seem as appropriate? Or what does it look like when your partner changes? What does it look like to go through divorce later in life or early in life? What's it look like to have a partner of the same sex? What's it look like to have relationships that just change over time? And that was so fulfilling for us, Jenna, to hear how that demographic has changed and what love means to them throughout different stages of life. That was really cool. We do, like I said, we get outside, so we do a lot of outdoor activities. We have a class coming up this week on foraging. We're actually going to be foraging on Aquinas College's campus to make food that we can forage with wild plants, which is a lot of fun. We do a great series called The World in Crisis, where we bring, again, more undergraduate students to tell us about the research that they're currently doing. We frame it with a professor here at Aquinas that leads us in, hey, what's going on in the world today and why is it happening? So when we talk about current domestic international problems, what set the stage for that? And what are you hearing on the news? And why is that happening the way that you see it happening? So providing context to things like that. But then I love when we can get into deep things in serious issues. We have a program that's a discussion group that is just called This Is Where I Stand. And it takes current issues and it allows a small group to get together and say, well, here's what I believe on this particular issue. And they have a very open and honest conversation, which you can't really have anymore. So I love that OLLI can offer that position for some people to be able to speak their mind in a healthy and constructive way that doesn't feel like they're being called out or disrespected in that particular avenue.
That is so cool. So you've spoken a lot about the collaboration with OLLI and with Aquinas College students. Now, this is like a totally selfish question because my children go there, but do you guys ever collaborate with St. Thomas? Because you guys are, I mean, my kids have recess sometimes at Aquinas. They do. I actually went there too. And I remember one of my science projects back in the 6th grade was a leaf project. And I used the Aquinas College campus to gather all my leaves because they have like a million different trees. Do you guys ever do anything with the elementary age kids?
We have not to this point, but we're working on it. We actually have a class this summer as part of our summer series that's going to bring grandparents and grandkids together for an art project where each the grandparent will paint a shoe and the grandchild paints another shoe, and then together they form a really cool art project. So we're bringing people together in that particular way, but I think you've given me a new idea to reach out to St. Thomas for some more collaboration there.
Absolutely. And I can hook you up with the right people because
Great.
I think that would be so neat. I know that I see in my own kids what happens when they are with their grandparents or with older adults. And just based off of what I do, they have a lot of exposure to aging adults. And I just think that there's so much that these littles can learn from these adults. And I think it's would be cool for them to see these lifelong learners, you know, like still putting in the effort when like these littles just don't even want to go to math class.
Well, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to move to our new location on campus. We were at a building that was kind of off a site, almost kind of separated by a street, and we didn't have a lot of that.
It was a
yeah,
hike
it was.
Yeah.
Which was a beautiful building for us. We had been there for almost 40 years, and it worked very well for us for those years. But our program has been expanding so much, we needed a bigger space. Yeah. And then we thought, well, here's an opportunity for us to engage more with the undergraduate population by being in the same classroom. So we have this classroom here, and right next door to us are undergrad students we're sharing the same hallways. We're sharing conversations over coffee out in the hallway as students leave and our students leave, which shows, it displays that for the undergrads and for even younger learners that there's value to learning later in life. And we even did a class recently with the provost of Aquinas, Dr. Terry Keller, who is a psychologist, and he did a class for us about attachment theory between parents and younger children. And we actually had 2 or 3, I think, multi-generational OLLI families in the room to talk about, so here's why am I the way I am? Well, it's my mom's fault. She's sitting right next to me. She can talk about that, which is a very eye-opening exploration for everybody to show that, you know, mom is here to learn, son or daughter's here to learn, and perhaps in the future we have grandson or granddaughter here to learn as well. That shows that this is not just something that older people do because there's nothing else going on for them. It's that they choose to do this and they want to demonstrate that to other people, which has given us a whole new lease on our program in this new space.
That's awesome. Okay, so now I'm dying to know, what is the one class that you would take just for fun? It could be like class, or it could be like in the near future that you have going on. What would you take?
Yeah, this is fun for me because I pride myself as an instructional designer to know what the pulse of the community is. But it's always a joke that I'm always wrong. We kind of have a bet in our office among our staff of what class is going to be super popular and what one's not. And I always pick wrong. I clearly don't have a good pulse on things. But one thing that I find that's super engaging for us, and I'm always looking forward to when it hits our calendar, is a class that we call a priest, a rabbi, and a professor walk into a coffee bar. And the class is all about the evolution of religion and how we see it from different angles, but why are young people not seeing it the same way? Why is there this shift in people that are interested in participating in faith-based organizations and those who are not? And what's the value in having a community that's composed of both of those individuals? And we get to hear from two different faith backgrounds and then an academic on why that's happening. And it creates this really special three-way conversation, but it's very casual. It's, we set it up so it looks like a coffee shop in the classroom, and people can ask questions of these faith leaders of our community and pillars of our community. Reverend Bob Keller here at Aquinas, who's a chaplain at Aquinas, and Rabbi Al Lewis, who has been part of the Grand Rapids community for over 50 years, and Professor Gary Eberly, who spent 35 years here at Aquinas. The three of them have built such a following that I love to see people. That class, we had it signed up this year to bring guests to, because we wanted to have a large crowd. It sold 140 seats in 24 hours.
Oh
and
my God.
It's such a thrill to see that people want that engagement. They want to have people talking openly and honestly about the current status of religion in this country and how it's being co-opted or how it's being mismanaged or how your own faith journey has changed. I'm not a person of particular faith, but I love having that conversation because the three of them are so open to having it with anyone in the room. So I think that's a fun part for us. But again, I'm a big movie guy. So I certainly like to see our film offerings come through. And we have a cool class this summer taught by my colleague that we're going to show the 1950s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And we're going to have a conversation about drive-in films and how the drive-in phenomenon was so popular in the 50s and 60s. And so that's going to be a fun thing for us to explore too.
Oh, that's awesome. So what would you say to somebody who is listening that may feel stuck in their current routine or maybe disconnected from a purpose?
Get out. And not necessarily get out of your current process and thinking, but get outside. I find that the social connection that we offer is more valuable than the things that we're learning or teaching people. To be able to find a friend and connect with someone, I love this move on campus because we're now closer to the coffee shop on campus. So a lot of our members are now meeting up here and continuing the conversation about class over coffee afterward, which creates even more learning and sharing together. So if you're feeling that way, if you're feeling stuck or lost, or you're feeling that the one thing that brought you joy once before is not anymore, come to OLLI and find a new thing that brings you joy. Because I guarantee you'll find something, whether it's in class with us or it's a person in class that can lead you to that new joy for you, or whether it's one of our hikes that gets you out and exploring nature again. I think just getting out allows you to explore that. You're not going to change anything staying where you are. So get out, meet new people, and try something new. And Grand Rapids is such a great backdrop for that. With everything that's going on downtown, and our community is creating these opportunities for people all over. We love to partner with the library, with the Ford Museum, with churches and other places across the city, because all these communities are trying to do the same thing. So there's no excuse anymore. Get up and get out and join a new community.
Yeah. And for someone that feels nervous about coming to OLLI for the first time, can you kind of paint a picture of what exactly they could expect?
Yeah, well, first come in and say hi to me. I would love to see you and love to greet you. One of our things that we pride ourselves on is everyone gets called by their name here. And no titles, no honorifics. I don't care if you were a judge before or if you were a homemaker before. Everyone gets the same level of treatment here. So come walk up and see our beautiful space on the second floor. You're going to be greeted by me. Then you're going to be greeted by 15 other people that recognize a new face and want you to come and hang out with them. So usually we'll find you a great seat close up front so you can hear and see well. And then you're going to get a chance to get to know a lot of the other people that are regulars at OLLI that make this part of their daily routine, and have a cup of coffee with us, have a cookie, get comfortable in these very comfortable chairs that we have in our room now, and then learn something new for the day. And you know what? You'll find out maybe you don't like that subject. We'll come back and try another one. And sometimes those classes are running for multiple weeks. So maybe you'll find out you find a passion over multiple weeks that you can develop over time. So don't worry. If you also just want to sit in the back, we have seats along the back of the row or back of the room too, that you can kind of disappear into if you'd rather have a more quiet start to your experience here. But we're going to say hi to you. We're going to make you feel welcome, because that's one of the things that we think is really important with a community like this.
I think that's great. So I have a couple rapid fire questions for you that I didn't let you prepare for. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, tell me one thing that you've done so far today or plan to do for your physical health.
This morning, I limited myself to 1 cup of coffee as opposed to 3.
Oh my God, that is big. That's huge. I'm like
It's a
really
big
proud
deal.
of you for that. I'm very
Thank you.
proud. I don't know how much you normally drink, but that would be really hard for me.
Especially after not sleeping well, I thought I needed it, but I was like, nope, I'm gonna get outside and do more. And it's the rain has avoided, so I'm gonna get outside for a walk after work today too.
Good for you. What is one thing that you've done for your cognitive health today?
This morning, I sat in on a meeting with my colleague, and we were talking about changing an event from last year to this coming year. And I've never felt more engaged with that event by understanding it and getting someone else's opinion on it. So we've decided to change the whole thing. And we have, based on the feedback we collected and what's available for us, we explored new spaces on campus, and we think we've got a good idea for it. So it's great to have that thought process, not just with myself, but with someone else to kind of dialogue through that.
Awesome. And last but not least, what does vitality mean to you?
Vitality is having a desire to find joy. And I think that can be in many ways, whether that's physical or mental, there's ways to do it, but it's having desire to do it, having that curiosity to do it.
I love that. That's great. So I absolutely love this conversation because it's such an important reminder that healthy aging is about so much more than just avoiding disease or staying physically active. It's about continuing to grow, continuing to connect, continuing to stay curious about the world and about ourselves. Movement keeps us physically active, but learning, purpose, and connection keeps us emotionally and intellectually alive too. So a huge thank you to you, Ian, and the team at OLLI at Aquinas for the incredible work you guys are doing to help older adults continue to learn, explore, and build meaningful community in every season of life. If today's episode inspired you, I encourage you to check out the OLLI program and maybe even challenge yourself to learn something new this year. It's never too late to grow. And as always, thank you for joining us on Voices for Vitality. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend, family member, or someone who could use the reminder that getting older does not mean you have to stop becoming smarter. Until next time, keep moving, keep learning, and keep living your best life.